Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on The Flash Season 7. Probably going to be one of my last ones. I might do one or two more after this, and then before we move on straight just to Season 8 content as a whole. But yeah, as you can tell, we're on camera. Um, it's lockdown in Australia. Ignore the mess. Well, it's not even that big of a mess, but just stack of stuff there on that desk. I'm just sort of cleaning stuff up. Just trying to keep myself sane. As you can tell by that drawing up there, it's not working. I think I'm starting to go a bit loopy because that's not a very good drawing. Also, it's more reverse Flash than Flash, and it's the opposite way around. Yeah, it's not amazing, but got a cool hat. So anyway, but this video I wanted to use as like an honest space to talk about the issues from the past season. Sounds like a counseling session of sorts or something like that, but I was sort of waiting to get my new camera, which I've got on there. I don't even know if it looks good or not. I don't know, but it's just a web camera to use on the computer. So yeah. But you know, I'm not a negative person. I'm not gonna sit there and whine and stuff, especially in my reviews. I'm not gonna dig like a hole of negativity and just sit in it. You know, I'm not like that. Like that's just not me, and that's just because I prefer to make my videos focusing on like the cool and like the exciting stuff that happens in the episode. Yeah. And like YouTube's already a stressful thing, so I don't want to pile on top of it with like just going on to make a video and getting like, well, switch my hat into negative mode, let's go. However, as most of you watching would just be people that just watch YouTube videos, whether it be 2 videos a day or 10 videos a day, or whether it's 750 videos a day. But regardless, you're not making the content, you're just watching. So you 125.7% have the right to voice your criticism, frustration, issues, whatever they might be with the show. You're 100% right. So when I go into the comment section, I'm not going to sit there and debate and be like, well, don't be too hard on the show, because you 125% have the right, unless you're wrong. You know what I mean? Like some people just voice takes that are completely wrong. It's just like they didn't even watch the show properly. Then I might comment back, but for like the vast majority, like 98%, like they're warranted, and you have the right to voice those frustrations. So in this video, I thought I'd share my feelings over all of that, things I would have done differently in certain areas, as well as just the general outlook heading out of Season 7 into Season 8, which will be more towards the end once we've gone through all the Season 7 stuff. But just to give a heads up, I do have some notes here just to keep my mind and brain on track, because I can just drift off into the nether. So you'd know if you watch my live streams, I'll just ramble. So got some notes here just to keep myself on track. So if you see me like looking specifically here, I'm just looking at some notes just to make sure I'm not going crazy. But firstly, it is so easy, just to put this out there, it's so easy in hindsight to look at a movie, a TV show, a sporting event, anything in life and go, oh, I could have done that so much better. So I'm not going to sit here and say like, oh man, I could have written this show or this season or this character much better, like I've seen others say. I am just going to, you know, point out clear wrong paths that were taken. Now, I think I will just go from what I think were the biggest issues of the season downwards. So the biggest issue will be the first thing we talk about. And then we'll just go through the rest of them, the things that I think people had the issues with the most this season. Is that good? I think that's good. Now, of course, this is a video where I'd love to hear your responses. So let me know in the comment section down below your general thoughts on everything that we go over in this video and just the stuff we talk about. And don't try and be like, oh, time to whip out my diss track, which I wrote 2 weeks ago. Just make it like just a discussion. I'm interested to see what you, maybe just pick one thing. Say, what was the one thing you had the issue with the most season? It can be a storyline, it can be a character, it can be an element of the show like dialogue, CGI, acting, whatever it might be. Just pick out one thing and say how you would have done it better, or how you want to see it improve in Season 8. I'd love to see that in the comments. And also, another thing I'd love to see is if you could drop a like on the video, because it helps support the channel and the video, especially during this tough time between seasons. I should be an advertising person, maybe, I'm not too sure. But just another quick thing, weekly live streams. They're going to be on Tuesdays at 9 AM Eastern time for me and other Australians, and also like New Zealanders and stuff. However, that's Monday midnight, or midnight between Monday and Tuesday for the UK. 7 p.m. East Coast, or New Yorkers and all those people. And then I think it's 4 p.m. West Coast, so West Side, for the US. So I'm going to be trying to live stream. That's like my designated live stream day. So put it in your calendars and your diaries. Now, this is just a disclaimer, which might be a bit of a hot and controversial take, but I don't think Season 7 is terrible. I think the majority of the episodes are actually good. However, the ones that they dropped the ball on, stand out like a sore thumb. They stand out like whatever you want to say. They stand out in the crowd and you're like, whoa, you're not meant to be here. And those episodes were, unfortunately, in key areas of the season where they shouldn't be underwhelming. Or, well, to put it simple, just bad. They were in key areas of the season, whether they be at the end of the storyline or in like the formation and of a character and trying to make us care about someone. That's where the bad episodes were. And that's a really big issue. I think that's why people have such an issue with this season. I can completely understand that, because those bad episodes are in key areas of the season. So my biggest issue of the season actually isn't a storyline. It's not a character. It's actually the dialogue. The dialogue this season was really bad. It's the worst it's ever been. We're even past like We Are the Flash and stuff like that. The dialogue this season was just really bad. And of course, that doesn't relate to one specific storyline or, section of the season specifically. However, if I really have to say, okay, go watch this little portion of the season, if I had to tell you, it's the fourth storyline. Go watch the fourth story and listen to the dialogue. It is really bad. It is really bad. And I'm not too sure what happened there, because there are other elements of the season where the dialogue is actually good. And it just feels like it was like a rotating writer's room or something, where I'm not too sure exactly what happened, but the dialogue this season was really bad. And whenever I brought that up to someone in conversation, they think about it and go, man, you are right when I think about that. So with the fourth storyline, I'm not even talking about the mummy and daddy stuff, which was obviously cringy, and once again, don't know how it got through the writer's room and no one picked it up and went, hey, that maybe doesn't work that well. Maybe we should change something up there. It's just the dialogue as a whole and how they decide to explain things and how characters talk. They didn't feel like characters a lot of the time. It felt like a script, if that makes sense. It didn't feel like they were actually characters talking. And I think in some areas you saw the actors like going, what am I reading here? It almost felt like Arrow season 4. Like Arrow season 4 had some really bad dialogue as well. And it felt like the actors were phoning it in. And I honestly think that happened a lot in season 7, because the dialogue was, in my opinion, the worst it's been in the entire show, and it was definitely the worst part of this season. But the next thing is probably the thing you thought was going to be number one, and that's the fourth storyline. Now, I think even if you go rewatch the season, it has a good, if not great, start. I think like the first few episodes of this fourth storyline are good if not great, which sort of surprised me, because the fourth storyline, this fourth quest storyline in the comics, it isn't that great. It's not a very good storyline. That's just my personal opinion. So when I knew that they were doing this on the show, I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm not too sure how this is going to go. So I didn't really have high expectations, and it sort of surprised me at the beginning. Like, I love the Dion episode where Chester and Cisco went back in time. The individual psych episode I thought was intriguing and good. And they could have done more there, and they could have put something, or maybe associated psych with another episode, which we'll talk about later in the video. But I like that psych episode. For Wes' introduction was weird because of the CGI, but it didn't take me out of it too much. It was just maybe like little parts of the episode I didn't like, but it was still decent. But the Speed Force, so like the Nora version of the Speed Force, like they tried to play her off as the villain and then didn't end up having a villain. That storyline didn't have a villain. And you got to remember, this came off the Mirror. Like, I'm not really going to include the Mirror Master stuff because that's season 6. So if you're wondering why I sort of like don't really mention it too much, it's because I count that as season 6. So if we're just going to bring up the Mirror Master or Mirror Monarch, whatever they called her, that ended with there not being an actual proper villain. She just went away with no like repercussions or anything like that. And that was what this felt like, but to the next level. Where there wasn't even a villain. Like, they didn't even see anyone as a threat. There wasn't even really a final fight. Like, their final fight was against, like, evil lightning or something. I don't even know what. It was like some weird, like, cataclysmic event thing where the Speed Force lightning had to come together. It was weird. And then the end result is that she was just lonely. Like, I said this, and I think, I'm not going to say, oh, put my crown on, how smart am I? But I think, I personally think I was the first one that said this, at least on a public forum or anyone was any type of following, that Psyche should have been the villain. Psyche clearly should have been the villain for this season. There was this whole thing where they thought that one of the forces was actually, playing them all, and then ended up being not the case and it was just something random. Why not have Psyche be the villain? Psyche was the one who, in my opinion, could have actually been straight up evil, and if not bad. Because Dion wasn't, like, if you really had to do it, like, Dion was in the grey area Faweza or Alexa, I think her name was. She was good. It was almost like a Hulk thing. She didn't really want these powers. Dion was in the middle and Psyche was on the other side. I think that was pretty clear that Psyche should have been the villain and he was the one influencing all of this. He can get into people's minds. He can make them see things. Perfect villain. It would make people do weird things and make them play into his plan. So why not make Psyche the villain? And even in the final episode of the Force storyline, the what was it called? Family Matters. I think it was Family Matters Part 1 and Part 2. In Part 2, they bring up that they suspect that someone's behind all of this, and I was like, oh my god, they're making it Psyche. They're making it Psyche, like I've been saying for a couple of weeks. And then no, it's no one. So they even set it up as if it was going to be Psyche, and then they took it away. They ripped the rug from under your legs. You fell over. You were carrying past her. It went all over your face. You got stains on your shirt. I'm not too sure what happened there. I wonder whether that was a plan, and then it just got scrapped. But I don't know. That's why that storyline just wrote. It was like, it fell flat. It was underwhelming, and it was probably the worst way you could end a storyline. I'm not too sure how they came to that conclusion. I'm not too. That's easily the most disappointing thing in regards to me watching the show and getting excited and having that. That's easily the most disappointing part of this season, and it stands out by like a mile, in my opinion. Like ages. Ages. It's definitely the thing that annoyed me the most this season. Next up is actually the interlude. So if you don't know what the interlude is, I think you'd probably have to be on social media and specifically Twitter to know what this interlude is. But the interlude was what Eric Wallace referred. So you know the graphic novel. So we have the graphic novel. So the Force storyline was a graphic novel. The Godspeed thing was a graphic novel. That little bit in between, Eric Wallace called it the interlude and specifically called it Interlude 1. So I don't know if that means Interlude 2 is coming. Hopefully not, based off what Interlude 1 was. But the interlude consisted of the Cisco episode, like the Goodbye Cisco episode. That's the Seal episode with the Psycho Pirate mask and the Allegra episode with Ultraviolet. Those are the 3 episodes in the interlude thing, and then we moved into the Godspeed thing. So with the interlude, the Cisco episode was good. I love that episode. Sure, like the villain stuff, once again, was a bit weird. The villain wasn't really a villain, and they gave her a job for committing crimes. Weird. But yeah, the Cisco element and everything like that I thought was good. And we actually ended up learning later that Cisco's Goodbye episode was supposed to be much later in the season, but was pushed early because of COVID. So, yeah, what are you going to do there? The Cecile episode, I didn't think was terrible, but it was clear the Cecile episode should have been... It sort of lines up with the Force storyline, connected with Psyche. Psyche was making her do all that stuff, and Psyche was making her see all that stuff. It was all mental stuff. Easy. If you wanted to do that from the beginning, you would connect it with Psyche. Pretty simple, in my opinion. Like, I think that it's, in my opinion, it's obvious. You just make it with Psyche connected. Like, pretty clear. And the Allegra episode was, unfortunately, it was a fail. They needed to develop Allegra. We got that Chester episode with Cisco and the Dion thing, which was great. That made us care about Chester, and Chester was great this season, in my opinion. Like, sure, some people might have liked certain things he said, and, you know, might feel a bit like too full on, but I think overall he was a good, if not great, character. Allegra was sort of the opposite because they gave us literally zero reason to care about her, and then when they gave her this Allegra episode, it wasn't even about Allegra. It was about Ultraviolet, who then dies 2 episodes later. So I don't know if they were using Ultraviolet, who didn't even speak properly, and like you couldn't see her face, so you couldn't tell emotions and stuff like that. It was weird. But it was a fail. It was a fail. I understand what they were trying to do, but Barry wasn't even in the episode, so your main character isn't there to connect with Allegra, and she's meant to be like forming like a Team Flash sort of thing. It just didn't work. And I think the interlude is where a lot of frustration from this season built up, because we knew we only had 18 episodes this season, which then led into only 4 episodes for the Godspeed storyline. So that was episode 12, 13, 14, and then we only had 4 episodes left for the Godspeed stuff, and I think that's where a lot of frustration from this season came from. And it didn't help that the Force storyline, literally the episode before the interlude started, was so underwhelming and finished in probably the worst possible fashion. So these are the sections where I think we saw a lot of anger building within the season, and it was pretty much like, oh my god, they got to nail the Godspeed storyline if I'm going to care about this season as a whole. And that just led into a lot of pressure for the Godspeed storyline, which we'll talk about now. And the simple thing with the Godspeed storyline is, and I think it's the thing I've said once it ended, and even when it was going, it needed another episode or 2. which once again leans into the hate for the interlude portion of the season, but it needed another episode or two. Or at least one episode at the very least to flesh out the story a bit more. I'm just going to read my notes. Like, it needed to explain why the clones were there. Now, after looking into it just by me personally, it's clear that the clones were never in a true war, which was never really properly said on the show. It was a ploy by August Hart to create a reason for Barry to feel the need to give him organic speed, because that's what Godspeed wanted. But that wasn't made clear on the show at all. They really flesh over it, and it's almost like you have to connect the dots yourself. And I'm like, yeah, but you didn't even, you left out 7 of the dots. It's like doing a connect the dots, like, oh, this is meant to make a house. But you left out half the dots. So all we got is a triangle. It's not a house, it's a pyramid. You can probably live in a pyramid, but it's not a house. You know, you left out some of the dots and we weren't able to connect them all. So because it wasn't fleshed out properly, there was a lot of confusion and it felt overly rushed, especially towards the end when Godspeed eventually becomes all powerful. He's literally, well, not even, he wasn't killed, I guess. He looked like he was killed, but he's defeated by Reverse Flash. Like, it's not even 5 minutes after he becomes all powerful. It's like 3 minutes. I think the clip is on YouTube. I think it's 3.5 minutes from when he gets powerful, all the clones get sucked back into him, which plays into the whole it was never a true war. So he gets this organic speed, he's already overpowered, and then the clones come back into him, which makes him even more powerful. So he was a ridiculously overpowered speedster, but the show didn't make that clear. They just made it seem like he got his clones back. And then he's killed like 3.5, 4 minutes after that. So it wasn't fleshed out properly. It felt really rushed. There were very cool elements of the Godspeed stuff. Don't get me wrong, I think we all can agree that there was really cool elements there. And it's definitely, when people use the Godspeed thing as like the first thing to attack the season with, I'm like, you probably went down the wrong avenue there, buddy. But yeah, just lack of an episode or two to flesh everything out. And I think it would have changed people's perspective on that storyline if it just had that extra, at least an episode to really flesh out his motives and his actual plan. But that just wasn't there. Next up, characters. I'm just going to give an example of like a perfect character scene and what I loved seeing this season. This made me think this is a Flash scene. This is a scene that I love from the Flash on the CW, and it makes me go, this is the show. And you might be surprised what it is. And it's actually the karaoke scene when Cisco says goodbye. That felt like proper interaction between these characters. The only element that was really missing there was that Iris wasn't there. I know people might go, oh, I prefer that Iris wasn't there. But if Iris was there, it would have felt like a proper Flash scene. And I'm not saying it's because, you know, the side characters that we've had in the show weren't there. But it just felt like that was the heart of the show, minus Iris because she wasn't there. And it just felt like them being a family and being a friend group. And I feel like we haven't got a lot of that, especially this season. And I understand COVID was an issue, like they couldn't really film in massive groups, and that's why that scene happened there, where I think like Iris is in a different group with like Cecile and stuff because they couldn't have too many people on set. But at the same time, I feel like we didn't get a lot of that this season, like those pure Flash family, Team Flash scenes. Yeah, but then like in regards to, I already mentioned it, but the Allegra episode was not very good. And that's just a bad moment of trying to develop a character, but doing it in probably the worst possible way. Because I don't know anyone that really cared about Allegra too much after that episode. At least changed. So if you cared about it already, and I don't like not care, it's just that it's like literally at the base level. Like it's the same as Camilla, who's off the show now, who was hardly on screen. And Allegra's meant to be this like important member of not only Team Flash, but Team Citizen as well. And she's like, well, you still haven't given us a reason to care. So let's hope they can improve that in season 8. Hopefully they get more episodes than to play with and everything like that. But the season 8 outlook, okay, so I've just written this down. Once again, I'm just going to read out my notes. Season 6 was great. You can debate with me all you want. My opinion is not going to change. It's my third favorite season after seasons 1 and 2. Season 1 being number 1, season 2 being number 2. So in my opinion, Eric Wallace, the showrunner, can craft a really good season. I know he gets a lot of criticism. I think some of it is deserved. I think people writing fire Eric Wallace and F Eric Wallace and hashtags on Twitter need a reality check and potentially a good talking to. It's a bit weird that people will do that, but so I think he can craft a really good season. I think the graphic novels is a really good approach if you have the time. And unfortunately, the Godspeed one wasn't given enough time. And I think it's sort of highlighted maybe an inconsistency or at least a negative in the graphic novel approach. with season 7, season 8, might I say, just whether in season 8 we leaned towards a season 6 in regards to not only quality but consistency, or a season 7 where you just don't know what you're going to get from week to week. Like it's season 7 was a box of chocolates, man. Forrest Gump quote, you just don't know what you're going to get. Might get, like for me, if I got a peppermint chocolate, oh, cheering, loving it. Weird, like, you know how you get those like weird fruit mousses where it just doesn't taste like the fruit, but it's in some chocolate. It's like pineapple mousse in a chocolate. I'm like, what the hell is this? Doesn't taste like pineapple, doesn't taste like chocolate, tastes like crap. And unfortunately, that was some episodes in season 7 in regards to that weird box of chocolates. Am I talking sense? I think I am. I might have to end this video because I might be going insane. As I said, that picture, that drawing is a good example of that. But yeah, guys, I think that's all really it to say. I think that's all I had to say about this. This video is probably, like, I can, at least on my base recording, it's gone over 20 minutes. No idea how long the actual edited version of this video will be. But yeah, thanks for watching. Let me know your opinions in the comment section down below. I'm intrigued to see what you guys have to say. Leave a like on the video to show your support. It'd be greatly appreciated if you could do that. And of course, if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because season 8 content is coming. They've started filming at the time I've made this video, so I know when stuff's going to come out. Hopefully soon, so we can talk about it. But yeah, I'll catch you guys later. Drink Sprite, not sponsored. And I'll catch you guys later. Goodbye.